retire.
Mark, I'm listening to you talk about 2006, 2011 referees, and all I hear is passion and commitment. Why did you sell the Mavericks?
Because
Mark Cuban once called himself the luckiest man on earth. But ever since he sold the Mavericks, everything's gone wrong. And the craziest part, he still doesn't regret selling the team. He regrets who he sold it to. Because when Cuban walked away, the Dallas Mavericks weren't broken. They had Luka Doncic, they had Kyrie Irving, and they had just been to the finals. This wasn't a rebuild. This was a contender ready to win right now. So Cuban did what every great owner dreams of. Cash out at the absolute peak, hand the team off, and still stay involved in basketball decisions. Perfect exit, right? Not even close. Because fast forward just 2 years, and the Mavericks are a lottery team. Same franchise, completely different reality. And behind the scenes, the plan Cuban thought he agreed to, that didn't happen. Because the people he trusted to take over had a completely different vision for the team he built, his baby. Mark Cuban purchased the Dallas Mavericks in the year 2000 for $285 million, then 23 years later flipped it for a cool $3.5 billion, a ho-hum 12 to 13x on his money. Along the way, he built the Mavericks into a perennial powerhouse. They always made the playoffs. Then he helped put together a team to craft the greatest finals run in NBA history, or one of them, and I'm saying this as a Heat fan. And then had the good sense to trade the draft rights for Luka Doncic. So not only did he build the team up from a joke to a powerhouse, he left them in a brilliant position.
it's a big emotional commitment, right? You hear the passion and everything. Now imagine going up and down like that every single game. That's hard.
Yep.
And literally right after selling the team, it seemed like the good fortune was gonna continue for Cuban because the Dallas Mavericks went to the finals with Luka. And here's the best part. Cuban still retained 30% and believed that he was gonna be a majority speaker and decision maker in basketball decisions. He found out real quick that the Adelson family had no designs of keeping him in basketball operations. And here's where it gets murky. Because Cuban swears up and down that he was supposed to still retain control of basketball operations. Meanwhile, on the Adelson side, they are swearing up and down this was never part of the deal. Which is crazy to me. So it clearly wasn't written in the contract. And for a guy like Mark Cuban, who's finished 100, maybe 1,000 business deals, you would think he would have had this in writing. But it looks like instead he was hoodwinked. In short, the biggest shark just came up against a whale. The reason Cuban sold the team is he referred to himself as a middle-class billionaire, meaning that what it took to run the team was starting to become an issue for him. And more importantly, he was looking out for his family. He actually didn't want his kids to run the family business, which is a departure from normal billionaires. But I guess when you're a middle-class billionaire, it's different.
My kids, they were coming of the age where they would be of the mindset, maybe they want to work at the Mavs, and I didn't want that for them. It can be abusive a lot.
But to that point, as big as Cuban is, he ran into an even bigger billionaire, who is Miriam Adelson, who runs the casinos in Vegas. And the minute the ink dried on the sale, she got to working. And her vision for the team had nothing to do with Cuban's vision. Think about this. Right after selling the team, the Mavs go to the finals in a surprise run with Luka Doncic as their lead guy and Kyrie Irving behind him, plus a good supporting cast. Everything looked incredible. And now look, first they sell Luka Doncic. It was the worst trade in NBA history. When they traded for him, they said, "Oh, Anthony Davis is gonna bring up our defense." Literally 6 months after that, you've traded him to the Wizards. So in 2.5 years, you have gone from being a finals contender to a lottery team. And yes, okay, you got super lucky and 1.8 chance got Cooper Flag. Congratulations. But guess what? If you surround him with nothingness for the next 5 years, you may not hold on to Cooper Flag. Imagine being Mark Cuban and seeing this happen. It doesn't matter about the money at the end of the day. Yes, it's excellent he made all that money. But when you've built a business from the ground up, this was the crown jewel in his massive portfolio. He also still retained a percentage of the company and was told that he would be involved in major basketball decisions. Imagine now being sidelined and watching people do this to your team. This is why he said.
Do you have any regret?
I don't regret selling. I regret who I sold to. Yeah, I made a lot of mistakes in the process, and I'll leave it at that.
I'm also not a big one for conspiracy theories. Allegedly, of course. I think new ownership wants to move the franchise out of Dallas, and they're gonna do everything they can to do so. Because at the end of the day, for a family like this, the Dallas Mavericks are just one part of a much bigger piece. And if the city of Dallas is not gonna allow Miriam Adelson to build a casino in her stadium, she's gonna find a way to make it happen. She just is. At these levels, are not used to hearing the word no. If she could double, triple, quadruple her revenue by just adding a casino, you best believe it's gonna be done. And if the way to do that is to severely tank the Dallas Mavericks value so that it makes sense, well, mission accomplished. And unfortunately for us basketball fans, after Cuban's latest comments, I don't foresee him being involved in anything Mavericks related for a really long time. So 2.5 years since selling the team, the Dallas Mavericks have drifted right back into irrelevancy. The irrelevancy Mark Cuban worked for 23 years to get them out of. And that's why he already deeply regrets selling the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
Talk about that trade, your feelings of it.
Thought he was asking me what I thought about a potential trade for Luka. He was like, no, Mark, it's done.
What?
And I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like, okay, and I hung up and I called the new owner.
What?
And he started telling me stuff that wasn't true, that he had been told.
What?
As the reason why he approved it.
What?
And I'm like, that's not true. This is a mistake.